Welcome back, everybody, to our side of the story. I'm here today joined by my boys, Izzy and David. David Gonzalez, please say hello.
Yo.
Yo.
What's going on? I have to apologize in advance if we sound slow today, especially myself. We had a long day today, but I said, nope, we have to talk about this movie. I saw it finally for the first time on Tuesday, and I saw it full out. Before we begin, we just want to remind you guys, you can follow us up for updates on our Instagram channel. Our Instagram, what is the name of our Instagram?
OSS Podcast.
That's right, OSS Podcast. And you continue to seek new episodes here on our YouTube channel, our side of the story. Continue to support us. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube.
Yeah,
Yes.
pretty much.
So, Mike, what are we doing today? What movie is it that you've been dying to talk about?
The movie we've been dying to talk about is The Irishman. The Irishman. Now, this movie did get a limited release in theaters, I believe, at the first beginning of November. Yep. I believe so. When I had heard that this movie was going to be almost 3 hours and a half long, I said to myself, there's no way I'm going to be able to sit through this. In the very beginning, I said to myself, in a theater, no less. So I said, since it was also, we discovered that it was going to be an exclusive for Netflix later on that month. I said, yeah, let me just wait for it. I mean, I like to sit in my house alone and just watch Netflix all day as it is. So I figured let me watch it in a more comfortable area. But yes, I finally saw it. Izzy, you said you saw it too, right?
Yes, I did. But I definitely did not sit down 3.5 hours straight through for it.
So how did you watch the movie?
Well, let me preface this by saying Gonzalez has not seen it. He kind of does not care for it. Am I right?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Neither did my brother, which, by the way, almost was going to mention, he will not be here today with us. He had to focus on schoolwork.
He's busy.
Busy college boy, but that's good. I'm proud of him.
Yes, me too.
But he didn't see it either. No, he felt the same way as Gonzalez did. But me and Izzy, what did you think?
So, again, I was not sitting there for 3.5 hours. I think I saw it like 45 minutes a pop. Like I had to like take a break because I was wow. I think mentally I was like, I cannot sit here for 3.5 hours and watch this movie. So I wound up watching it, but I feel like it was good because the way Netflix is doing the way they did the Tarantino movie, the Hateful Eight.
Yes.
They did it in pieces. I think they did it in 4 separate pieces.
Right. Was that the extended cut that they released?
Yeah. So it's like almost
longer.
Yeah, it's almost episodic.
Yeah.
Which I really like. So I think I kind of treated this movie like that, and I think it was okay. I didn't get anything taken away. I understood the whole movie. It was fine. But 3.5 hours is very long. That being said, it was a really good movie. Like, it was really good.
And keep in mind, 3.5 hours, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Avengers Endgame almost 3 hours as well?
Yeah. But I think those 30 minutes definitely make a difference. You know what I'm saying? Those extra 30 minutes make a difference. Like, I'm not sitting there for 30
Not to
minutes.
mention, we have to preface this without spoiling anything, because this is a spoiler-free review. Although history has told its story about what this movie's about, with the people involved in the movie. It was based on a book based on a memoir, if you will, from this guy who wrote it that Robert De Niro played. You're right. The 30 minutes does make a difference, but considering that we had Avengers was like an easy fit for a lot of people, especially because mindless action, mindless superhero fun. Mm-hmm. Here it was a little bit more focused, a little bit more of a dramatized retelling of this person's account. Robert De Niro was the main lead. He played the character Frank Sheeran, who was a hitman for the mob.
Allegedly, because. Yeah.
Well, no, I believe it was proven he had connection with the mob. He was a hitman.
He was.
The allegedness
allegedness comes, it's not. I mean, if you know the story of Jimmy Hoffa, you're kind of like, spoilers are like, I don't know.
I don't think it's necessary here. Again, it's history. We're not really spoiling anything if you guys are gonna watch it.
Yeah, like I think it's pretty evident that he
he's dead.
He's
Yeah,
dead. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so
well, he disappeared, but this guy Frank Sheeran is saying he's the one that pulled the trigger.
Yeah, which then they're saying that multitude of other people are saying that they killed Jimmy Hoffa, one including Iceman, which was
Robert. Forgot his last name.
Kuklinski,
something like that.
Yeah, so there's a whole history behind the mob and
blurred lines of reality and story. Yeah,
for some reason this is more like unknown who killed him, which is very strange because everyone is saying that they killed him. Frank Sheeran said he killed him. Kuklinski said he killed him.
Even the FBI couldn't factually give the public really any evidence or like confirmation that this is what happened because it was still an open case even to this day, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a bunch of mythos about it too. Like they're saying that he's buried under MetLife Stadium.
Oh, I heard that. It's an urban legend like that. Yeah,
it's like this whole urban legend thing that he's buried under there.
Yeah,
but I'm like, if that was whatever. But yeah, pretty much he disappeared and whatever. But yeah, I think the movie. I don't think there was a bad part in the movie, to be honest. Like,
okay,
I told you this before we recorded, but it's the hype around it is necessary. I just don't think it's Scorsese's best.
That's what I was gonna say because before I wanted to give you my thoughts about the movie The Irishman. One of the things I wanted to say was what I was excited about The Irishman. One of the things was that, yes, it's Martin Scorsese. It's him coming back to do a crime film, a crime drama, which, you know, I kind of consider Scorsese kind of I don't want to label him like this, but he kind of follows, his career now has become more of a genre director where he started off doing like mob movies, crime films, and then he kind of drifted into like biopics, history movies, adaptations from books about heroes, and then he actually delved into family as well.
Yeah,
you know. So and he at one point he did that one movie, Shutter Island, with Leonardo DiCaprio, which was also again based on a book. It was a mystery. It was like close to a horror movie, which I was like, yes, Scorsese in the horror.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's see him do it. Let's see him tackle that area. But we got what we got.
Yeah, I mean he's one of the few, like, he's not just a mob.
No, he's not.
Just a mob
100%.
writer, like mob story writer. He's different. Like, I'm a huge Tarantino fan, but I acknowledge that Tarantino has very a one-note type of storytelling. Like, he takes a bunch of his people, like, bunch of things that he looks up to, different, what do you call that? Inspirations, and he puts it in one. It's just he has a specific way of storytelling.
Yeah, I don't know if I would call it one note though, only because I feel like a lot of his characters, for the most part, seem very fleshed out. Like great characters like The Bride, for example. You know, to me, we get more of the character. We get more of a sympathy for the character. And even like Hans Landa, which is like the best cinematic villain I think we've seen in a while.
Yeah, hands down.
You know, but I get what you're saying though. I get what you're saying.
Like I think Scorsese, just his resume speaks for itself.
Yeah.
Like the amount of like movies he's done, first of all, is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And how long they are.
And like and the fact that he's still directing. Like the dude is like, what is he, 77 years old?
Yeah.
The dude, like, he could be retired now.
Yep.
Like, but he's still making movies. In fact, I just found out he has another movie that's going to be released on Netflix starring Meryl Streep and Sharon Stone.
Wow.
Yeah. It hasn't been the title hasn't been announced yet. The story hasn't been announced yet, but it's out there. It was announced.
Yeah, I'm like, how do you have so much time to write so many?
Well,
like, so many movies, right?
Well, I think most. Well, I don't know if I don't think he didn't write this one, The Irishman. That was written by Steve Z. I will not be able to say his last name, but it starts with Z.
Oh, okay.
Steve Zalian or something like that. but no, I think that's why he's just so good at directing, because that seems to be his main focus, his main skill.
Gotcha.
But with The Irishman, I mean, one of the things that excited me the most, the biggest thing, was the fact that Joe Pesci came back from retirement to do this film. It was crazy. Dude, like, that dude was like all Scorsese, man. I mean, he did other stuff besides working with Scorsese, but you know, even like what he did with Home Alone was like great. Yeah, you know, like this dude's an amazing actor. But it's weird, like, okay, in Goodfellas, which to me that's still his best movie. Mm-hmm. He was so like intimidating, but in a very different way.
Like that his character in that movie was super loud and he was obnoxious, but he was not to be trifled with, and he was just like mobster, and everybody knew who he was. Like everybody.
Yeah.
Whereas
he was feared almost.
Yeah. Whereas in The Irishman, it was like he was a quiet scary.
Oh,
like
yeah.
he had this quiet intimidation about him.
Very almost authoritative presence that like you just didn't want to get him angry. But not that you saw him get angry, you knew. The look in his eyes or like his presence was just new, like, yo, this guy.
Or like how quiet he would get if something was said.
Yeah.
Like how he would get super like quiet and it got very tense and you're like, oh my God.
Especially I just want to mention this real quick. It is a scene in the movie where a great example of that, what you just said, is when they're at the club.
Ooh, unprofessional.
Oh, sorry. That was a random text, my bad. Anyway, there's a scene in the movie where they're at the club, De Niro and Joe Pesci, and I think Don Rickles. It's a comedy club scene. And then Crazy Joe, that gangster, makes a pass or makes a comment to Pesci's character, Russell Buffalino, about his Teamster union or something, the fact that he's part of this group. And it was disrespectful. Yeah. And, De Niro kind of like puts him to the side and goes, yo, you can't do that, whatever. And then, all said and done. Yep. But then when he comes back to the table and you see Joe Pesci's face and
he's so angry, bro.
There's an anger, but there's also communication happening between the men because there's a moment with this camera. And this is why I love Scorsese, because he's able to capture the actor's expression so well and be able to use the actors to communicate even without using words.
He uses a very good camera work. That's what you're trying to say. Yeah. His camera work is ridiculous. Yeah. It's really, it's weird. It's weird. Like, okay, I for some reason, I always associate the two as Tarantino and Scorsese. But Tarantino has very long shots.
Yeah. He's very fast paced.
He has very long shots, but then he has fast pace. He has fast paced. Say that 5 times faster. But
fast paced storytelling.
So he has like this way of shooting the shots, whereas Scorsese, he's kind of all over the place, but it doesn't feel.
But they're still connected.
They're still connected. It doesn't feel like horrible. It doesn't feel like, oh my God, I'm gonna catch a seizure watching this or something like.
Oh yeah, no, he's good.
And like you said, the way he used the camera work, you could see there was a conversation happening, or there was some type of thing happened between the two characters.
Yeah, there was an agreement that what Joe Pesci was like saying. Sorry, real quick. Joe Pesci saying like, "Oh no, he's gonna die now" because of that comment. Like, that's what I loved about it.
He was upset, and I love. But again, that's Joe Pesci. Like he's just for some reason a very intimidating guy. And then also, I was also very excited for Al Pacino.
100%. First time working with Martin Scorsese. Yes. Oh my God, this guy.
Which is kind of criminal. Like, come on, man. Like Al Pacino fits perfectly with
Scorsese. 100%.
He fits perfectly with that type of that feel for the turn that Scorsese brings. Yeah. Sorry, I'm like trying to fix the mic.
No, do what you gotta do, man. Do what you gotta do. What I was gonna say was, I think Scorsese said in interviews that for years now he's been trying to work with him ever since he did Godfather, like after Godfather. But after Godfather, his career kind of skyrocketed and there was just no time. And then, Scorsese had his regular guys, De Niro, Joe Pesci. Then, he started making all these other different films. And there was really nothing, like I can't really see another movie where he could have asked Pacino, hey, come do this. I want you to do this character. You know?
But imagine what that ensemble would have been like if
100%.
Al Pacino was in Goodfellas.
Oh, no, 100%.
Or even Casino.
Yeah.
Like that alone, I'm like, you could, like, I love Joe Pesci, but in Casino, I don't know if you've seen that.
I've seen Casino.
All right, so you could literally take Joe Pesci's character and swap him and put Al Pacino in, and it would probably be better, if not just as good.
Yeah, I can see that.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, to him tackle that role.
Granted, Joe Pesci's Joe Pesci, but Al Pacino's Al Pacino.
You know what I'm saying? 100%. So. And that's why, like, and it's funny that you mentioned before Tarantino, because Al Pacino also did Once Upon a Time in Hollywood this year earlier, and the thing that I thought was criminal about that movie with Al Pacino, you didn't see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, right? Well, without saying a lot, he's basically in 2 scenes only in that movie. He has one big scene in, like, I would say after the opener, I would say, of that film, and then you don't see him ever until like almost near the end, and he doesn't really do much in that second scene either. Yeah. But his scene he has a scene with Leo and Brad Pitt. It's pretty good, but I can tell that I don't think Tarantino really had enough to give him to do anything, especially with the character, because he was playing Leonardo DiCaprio's character's agent. Because Leo was playing an actor and he's the agent, so it wasn't really a lot for him to do. But to see Pacino here, he went full Pacino. I think he had a lot to work with, especially that he's playing Jimmy Hoffa. And we've already have seen Pacino work with De Niro before, but here is just like, this movie just was like another constant reminder why they're so good together and magic together.
Yeah, and another thing that was kind of crazy too is like, it felt so natural. Like when he was talking and he's obviously saying lines, it feels like Al Pacino's just coming up with these things. Yeah, like he just showed up on set and he's like, yeah, so I'm gonna just freeball it at this point. That's really what it feels like when you're watching him do it. I don't know.
Which I wonder if that's what Robert De Niro had meant, because I think he had mentioned, I can't remember if he was talking to Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon. He was telling somebody that, or someone was telling the story. I think it was actually Ray Romano, matter of fact, who was saying it to Jimmy Kimmel about how I could be wrong. Forgive me if I am, but I know it was one of the actors in that movie where they mentioned that. Or actually, no, I just remembered. It was Scorsese himself. Scorsese told Jimmy Kimmel while he was on the show, saying that he was nervous but also excited to have Pacino finally in his film. And he asked De Niro, like, hey, how is this guy? Like, I got to know. And De Niro said, he's Al Pacino. He's going to be good. Just watch and see. So, De Niro has worked with him before, so he knows, like, I'm wondering if that's what he meant, that Pacino's just going to come in and do whatever it is that he does best.
And it's also like, another thing I want to mention is the aging technology they did. It was almost seamless.
Listen, I got to be honest. I feel like, I don't know how much that work must have been behind the scenes. I know that had to be one of the biggest reasons why this was his most expensive film to date. Because you had to de-age like all three of those main dudes, De Niro, Pesci, and Al Pacino.
The one that took me aback was obviously De Niro.
Oh my gosh.
I was like looking at him, I'm like, oh my God, it looks like they recorded this years ago. Like,
I mean, at one point,
years ago.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, I gotta give what credit's due. You know, like it's amazing to see where that technology has done for a lot of films nowadays. I will say, I do worry that a lot of filmmakers will be too dependent on that.
Of course.
I don't want to see, like, I don't want them to do movies where we need to bring back someone like Harrison Ford, and like if they want to do Indiana Jones where he's young, but have Harrison Ford play him and de-age him, like, please stop,
But it says a lot to it, right? Because you think about in Marvel, they use the de-aging on Tony Stark. Remember in, I think it was
Infinity War. Yes, it was.
Yeah, they used the de-aging on him. So you're like, no, it's not. It wasn't Infinity War. It was.
Oh no, I'm sorry. You're right. Civil War.
No, it wasn't.
No, it was the. Remember
when he
the diagram.
Glasses. When he had the glasses. Oh my God.
No, it's Civil War. Let me tell you why. Because
no, you're right. Because
he was at the auditorium for the kids.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Okay, yeah.
So
like that de-aging was good.
Yeah,
but I feel like this was just another level. Like,
well, that's why, because this movie was more of a de-age performance with Robert De Niro, because we had to see more of that technology at work. It was more of an effort to make it believable.
The only time you really kind of not quote unquote saw the de-aging was there was one point where was a flashback to when he was younger, De Niro.
Yeah,
and he gets into a fight with this guy at the store.
Oh my gosh.
And he could barely move.
I think it was Jeremy Johns who mentioned it. Like, you could tell, like, he's still an old guy.
He was, like, mad decrepit. He couldn't even, like, kick properly.
He couldn't. And he just stomped on his hand. I was like, he does look like an old man.
And his shoulders are all the way, like, up high. Pretty much. And he's, like, touching his ears. And I'm like,
yeah.
It was funny. But, like, I mean, other than that, like, that's the only time you really see the de-aging. Right. But it was really good. Like, again, to me, not as good as Goodfellas. I think Goodfellas.
The movie, you mean? Okay.
Yeah, I mean the movie. Yeah, that was probably his masterpiece. And I think I said this too. Like, the feeling of when I first saw Goodfellas, and I would even say Casino. Like, those feelings of, man, I'm probably watching a masterpiece.
Yeah,
I did not get that with this one, even though I didn't have any issues with the movie besides the length of the film. But I don't know. I just.
Yeah, so that's what I want to address too. So in terms of the length, I don't want to get too caught up with the length, but all I will say is this. I do think the movie would have been more beneficial told if it was turned into a miniseries. like how you mentioned with Tarantino, The Hateful Eight, it was episodic. I think that's what they should have done with this movie. I don't think that the time was just too long. It's just because there have been long movies like that too, hence Avengers. But with this, with the way the story was told, because you're following this guy from how he, without it in a nutshell, it's basically him interacting with the mob the first time, getting involved with Joe Pesci's Butterfino character, then getting involved with Jimmy Hoffa, then the end happens, and then it's even afterwards the movies end, after their story's told, after Hoffa's story's told, when all's done and the guy and De Niro, shoots him dead, like, we see him even as an old man in a retirement home, like, we see that whole process and how his life affected his family and his own life and decisions he made. That's kind of why I enjoyed this movie, because we're following Frank Sheeran, where he wasn't like. It's interesting because he was a hitman, and there are some kills and deaths, a few of them in this movie, and it made me wonder, like, how did he feel about it? Like I think at the end of the day, he was just doing a job. He didn't really think nothing of it. Some people might label him as a sociopath. Me, I was just like, this guy was doing whatever he can to like support his family.
Yeah, in the story, from even I guess the book, he was a war veteran.
That too.
Killing people was kind of a thing that he was kind of used to. So to come home and I guess be retired from war, that was just another day for him.
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
I agree. I agree. So with that said, that's why I thought the movie was unique. But again, I think it should have been by episodes. I think a lot of people would have enjoyed it. Unfortunately, we live in a generation where people's short attention spans and time is just of the essence. So that's why I can't imagine even going to the theaters to fully sit through and try to enjoy this. Because I even talked to someone today too who said they haven't even finished it because it's so long. And I'm like, I get it could be intimidating. But if you are into stories where it looks like you're about to say something, G, I'm about to be done. Yeah. It sounds like whatever, depending on what the story is, I think if you enjoy stories of following characters, fleshed out characters that are going through a journey that are forced to think about the decisions they make and where they leads to in life, then you will enjoy this movie. It's not your typical mobster film. Yeah. Like you mentioned Goodfellas and Casino, those are mob movies. Mm-hmm. I personally enjoy Goodfellas more, but The Departed, though, I thought was like Scorsese's top gangster film to date. That was like one of my favorites. Gonzalez, what are you gonna say?
Do you think, because you mentioned the whole runtime of the movie, do you think we're gonna stop seeing movies getting to that length, like 3 hours? Because it's been less and less through the years. You mentioned that people's attention now and time is like more important. Do you think that's gonna mess with movies that could be rushed into trying to cut it just to appease to a specific time slot? Because nowadays we see a lot how they take scenes that would be great for the movie, but because it would get to like 3 hours, they cut it out.
And they may be afraid that people are gonna like lose focus or something. Mm-hmm. This is how I'm gonna answer your question. This is why streaming service is a big thing now, especially something like Netflix, because consumers who buy Netflix, the people behind Netflix, they're expecting people to spend hours and hours in front of the TV watching these series, watching these kind of films, watching movies that will take some time. I think that's why something like Netflix is a perfect reason why The Irishman can be enjoyed this way. If it's going to be a film that long, is because people are capable to sit through and watch these stories being told, these long movies. For the theater, I think it could be because I was just telling my friend Dan today, actually, matter of fact, because he asked me. Shout out to Dano. I think I forgot how we got into this conversation, but what I told him was that I don't know if this kind of film would have survived long in the theaters because of people would have been so intimidated to watch it because it was so long that it was going to hurt the movie financially because of the box office. They wouldn't have got a great box office, I'll tell you that right now. That's why I'm glad it was more of a Netflix film. Now, I talked to a coworker too who said, I want to watch The Irishman, but I want to watch it in theaters because that's how I believe movies should be enjoyed. Which is, I agree with that. 100%. It's commendable, especially because it's so long. Me personally, I I'm sorry. I'm one of those people in the generation. I'm like, if the movie's not doing it for me, I'm getting bored. I'm getting restless. I'm not gonna enjoy it as much. But something like in my house, Netflix, like I actually like. Okay, Izzy, you said you watched in parts and pieces. Dan, the man, also said he watched it bits and pieces. I somehow managed to watch it throughout. But I gotta be honest, I didn't feel bored or tired at all.
No, I mean,
so I don't think these movies are gonna be.
That's an attestment to Scorsese, his directing,
100%,
the writing, because that's the only way you can watch something and not be bored. Okay, I have one for you. When Daredevil first came out, the show,
yeah,
I sat and watched the first season in one day.
Nice.
I watched the entire first season in one day.
And all these episodes are like 45 to an hour long, right?
Exactly. And I watched it and I sat down and I didn't feel like I was burdened, with having to watch it. So I think it's a mental thing. I think when you tell somebody, oh, here's a TV show, right? And you can binge watch it on Netflix.
Right.
To them, it's like you can just turn it off at any point, right? If you put on a movie, you kind of want to sit there and finish the movie in that one sitting. So I think, I mean, that's not really a real answer to your question, to be honest. But I'm saying for me, like my amygdala is like, okay, like you're sitting down watching a show that has 12 episodes, 13 episodes, 45 minutes each. So
you are capable to watch these movies.
Sit down and watch. I'm capable of watching this, but I think if you tell me, oh, it's a 3.5 hour movie, I get overwhelmed.
Right.
So I'm like, this is a little bit weird. Like if I can sit down and watch a show,
To talk about from the filmmaker's perspective, I'm pretty sure they're not going to be worried about that. The Hobbit series and the Lord of the Rings. They were pretty long movies too.
I was just about to bring that up because those movies are probably one of the most successful franchises of all time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in fantasy. Yeah, 100%.
In total, how many Oscars the first Lord of the Rings got? Like 7 or 11?
Maybe around that time. Something like that. Fact check that.
Yeah, I'm about to check it right now.
You would imagine maybe filmmakers would want to try to not replicate that success because you cannot do it. You need a good story to pull that off.
I was going to say, because it has nothing to do with the time. It's more about like the story and the film that you're making.
Do you think the Lord of the Rings would work now? Staying on the whole topic of runtime.
Yeah, because it has a fan base. It has a large fan base. It is a franchise, and it's beloved for a reason. And I believe people now, other than the fans, I don't.
17.
Jesus.
Wow. Wow.
Oh my God.
That's great. Good for them.
Sorry. The films won 17 out of 30 Academy Award nominations, and The Return of the King holds the record for the most Oscars with 11 alongside Titanic and Ben-Hur.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my God.
Oh, wow.
That is insane.
Yeah, because I did hear, the only thing I heard about was The Return of the King was actually a Best Picture nom, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I think people will still like watch, because there's so many different kinds of fans for any kind of genre, any kind of movie lovers alike.
I mean, hell, look at the Marvel. Marvel, it has its own fans. There's people that are sick of them. But but
they're making money.
There's the majority that love them. You know what I'm saying? And they will go and if they told you right now that they're gonna drop a 3.5 hour Iron Man movie, people are gonna go sit down and watch it with no complaint.
Yeah.
But because Scorsese dropped a movie that's a 3.5 hour, ensemble of a freaking awesome cast. Because it's Scorsese and it's not Marvel, people will not watch it in theaters.
Well, that's the thing. Most people, because now again we're drones to the Marvel Cinematic Universe and that kind of stuff. But because his name is attached to Martin Scorsese, there are fans of Martin Scorsese. I myself is a fan of Martin Scorsese.
Here.
So I want to watch it because his name was attached to it, because he directed it, and plus the actors who are involved. Again, all three guys, very strong performances. Bigger performance from the two, Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, I say. But overall, that's really what I'm saying.
Yeah, because there was actually a big chunk where you didn't see Pesci at all.
Yeah, which I was not that I was happy about, but I was okay with it.
You appreciated it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It was fine because I knew he wasn't like the main thing in this movie, and I think and going back way back, what we were talking about, the fact that he even came out of retirement for this, it took He said Scorsese mentioned that he asked him many times, like over 50, exaggerated, but maybe it's not exaggerated, maybe it's true, times that he asked him to be in this movie, and Joe Pesci said no, simply because I don't want to do the whole gangster thing again. But this was different compared to his other films, and that's why I liked his performance here. It was very subtle, it was very nuanced. He was very he carried a presence.
He wasn't as intense as he was in Casino.
Yeah, again, because he's also very old. So there's so much that man can do now.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, I agree. Like
when the first shot that you see him, I was like, who is that?
Yeah,
he was almost unrecognizable. He's so old.
Which, by the way, you might enjoy this when you mentioned his first appearance. It turns out he improv'd again. How he improv'd in Goodfellas with the whole what is so funny, that whole scene, that famous scene that we all love. Am I clown to you? That one. In this movie, when he doesn't really introduce himself to Frank. When Frank meets him for the first time, it was to fix the truck, right? Yeah. See what was problem with the engine. Frank De Niro's character says, what's your, he says his name. And he says, "What's your name?" And Joe Pesci doesn't say his name. He just goes, "Where are you from?" He just keeps asking him questions. Yeah. And Scorsese was like, "This is the character. This is who he is. He brings the authority. He's the boss. Mm-hmm. He's a man not to be trifled with." So
wow,
yeah, because I think in the script Scorsese said, "Yeah, just introduce yourself." And Pesci was like, "No, I'm not gonna do that. Wow. I want to know who this guy is, but because he needs to know who I'm talking."
But that's the brilliance. I feel like if you take Joe Pesci out, it's not the same in a very weird way.
Right.
Because he did play a vital part to what happened with
100%.
To Hoffa. So you're like, if that role was given to I don't know, you give it to Bryan Cranston, it's not gonna be the same. I
would have loved to see Bryan Cranston in a Scorsese film, but I know what you mean.
But it's not the same.
In that role, no.
Maybe it's a nostalgia feeling, but to me, it's just Joe Pesci.
Can you imagine Tommy Lee Jones as Russell Buffalino?
Danny DeVito.
I would have loved to see Danny.
Give me Danny DeVito.
He's he would have been like, Frank, this guy needs to go.
Yeah, man.
No, yeah.
Overall, I think the movie is a solid, it's so solid.
It is. I want to let people know it's not a snooze fest. People might think it's boring. Again, it is a mobster film, but it's not a real traditional mobster story. You're not going to see a lot of guts and gore here or there. It's basically it's Frank Sheeran's time associating himself with Jimmy Hoffa, and then what happens with Jimmy Hoffa's history. Has told itself. And just basically this man's life with these characters. Mm-hmm. It's a very interesting story. And I think people who appreciate Martin Scorsese, who would love to see another great performance from Al Pacino and Robert De Niro and
who
also
Pesci. Who also cares about character pieces also.
100%.
This is in its own way a character piece.
Yeah.
So I think if you appreciate that and you care about story, you care about character, you care about Joe Hoffa, you care about Jimmy Hoffa, you want to know more, then I say give it a shot.
Give it a shot, yeah.
And I think you can also do what I did, which is take a break in between some parts. I think every 45 minutes won't hurt. But yeah, it won't take you out. At least it didn't take me out. But yeah, definitely give it a shot.
That's how you feel, Izzy. I'm going to challenge you people to watch this in full. Because if I can do it, you can do it too. Yeah. But again, I don't blame you either if you do it the other way around. I will say this before we end this review. Anna Paquin.
Oh, yeah.
I love Anna Paquin. I always have. She didn't need to be in this movie.
No, she didn't.
I'm sorry. I'm going to say it. She was the daughter who just did not approve or was aware of what her father was doing. You could have had any Gonzalez, you didn't see this movie. She had no lines whatsoever except at the very end.
She had three or four?
Lines. Because you see her as a little kid being with this family, but then when Anna Paquin shows up, because time has passed, she just has these stare downs of looks, which I'll give her credit. Not a lot of actors and actresses can achieve that, where they can communicate without using words. Yep. It's a skill. I'll give her that. She's great at the facial expressions. But when she talks and then you never see her again, I'm just like, she didn't have to be in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, honestly though, the only thing I know her for is the X-Men.
Oh, the X-Men series.
And in there, I didn't care about her. She was just another girl. So, yeah.
I hear you. But yeah, that's our review for The Irishman. If you guys want to look forward to more reviews, please follow us again on our social media accounts. Hopefully next time we meet, we'll have more discussions and more reviews for you guys.
Yup.
Until then, Stay blessed, America.
Stay blessed.